How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm gonna be talking about UFC Abu Dhabi and my thoughts on how it stacks up with other pay-per-views. A lot of other YouTubers have made videos on this. Guru made a video. Bedtime made a really solid video about it. I might have jumped the gun. If you guys remember, maybe like 2 weeks ago, I said that the upcoming main events are actually really solid this summer, and I think that this summer we're actually going to be getting a lot of really solid pay-per-views, and, the fight nights are going to be really good as well. 318 and 319 might actually not be that good, and I want to apologize, first and foremost, because we get a fight night like this in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi looks insane so far. This is the alleged main card for UFC Abu Dhabi. Main event, Whitaker, Renier de Ridder. Co-main event, Movsar Evloev, Aaron Pico. I'll get back to it probably at the end of the video. I'll probably circle back to that. Petr Yan, Marcus McGee featured fight, because why the fuck not? Bryce Mitchell, Saeed Nurmagomedov, Sharabutin Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barrios, and Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. And that actually isn't the entire card. There's actually 4 other fights. You got Asu Almabayev, Ramazan Temirov, Amanda Hebos versus Tabitha Ritchie, Ibo Aslan, Billy Elikana, Muslim Salikov versus Carlos Leal just got added. And there's going to be more added. This is only 10 fights. And this, in total, is one of the best fight nights I've ever seen name value-wise in my fucking life. You have a lot of ranked fighters on here. I mean, the main event, Whitaker, Renier de Ridder, is probably one of my favorite main events that we've gotten so far this year. Co-main event, Evloev Pico. Because here's the thing about this fight, and it's why it pisses me off. It's going to be good. It's going to be a very entertaining fight. What angers me so much about it is the fact that Pico doesn't deserve it at all. He was never a champion in Bellator. He was never a champion in the PFL. He was never a champion anywhere. He was in Bellator for a couple years, had one of the most hyped debuts of all time just to lose. He's one of the biggest prospects that we've ever seen in MMA, and he just hasn't really shown it against the highest level of competition. I think he has a win over Patricky Pitbull. I think that's his best win, Patricky Ferrari or whatever Pitbull's actual last name is. I forget. It's Frey, so it's like Ferrari or something. I think he beat Pitbull's brother. He had the loss to Jeremy Kennedy due to injury. I don't really remember anyone notable that Aaron Pico has beaten, in my personal opinion. I just can't really think about Bellator featherweight fighters to save my life. But I think that he has a win over... Or is he a lightweight? He might be a lightweight, Pitbull's brother. But I know Aaron Pico has one really solid win. Petr Yan, Marcus McGee is a crazy-ass fight. I like it. I'm honestly not that mad at it. I know Petr Yan probably deserves a fight way up in the rankings, but Marcus McGee is a prospect that you kind of have to speedball like this because he is 34. So you kind of just have to chuck him in there with the tops of the division and see if it sticks. Bryce Mitchell, Saeed Nurmagomedov at bantamweight. I don't know if we're ever going to see that fight. I think that that's probably the highest fight likelihood on the card to have it pull out. Bryce Mitchell cutting down to 135, and Saeed Nurmagomedov really struggles to make it to the cage. Shara, Mark, honestly kind of a weird matchup. Shara should on paper beat Marc-Andre Barrios very easily, but Marc-Andre Barrios got that weird grappling, dude. Does that say 140? Yeah, this is my content slideshow, I forgot. Nikita Krylov, Bogdan Guskov, really solid fight. These are really solid fights. And it got a lot of people thinking, we get a fight night like that. We don't get a fight night. Abu Dhabi gets a fight night like this. And you even just look back at the previous cards that they've gotten over the years. You get UFC Saudi Arabia in February of this year with Israel versus Nasruddin Imavov, co-main event of Shara versus MVP, Sergey Pavlovich versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Vinicius Oliveira versus Saeed Nurmagomedov, Mike Davis versus Fares Ziam. You look at that card and it's like, holy shit, that's an insane fight night. You look even further at the pay-per-view cards they've gotten over the years. UFC 308 arguably was up there with 300 and 299 and 298. It was a stacked-ass pay-per-view. You go even further back to UFC Saudi Arabia, UFC Abu Dhabi last. Was it Abu Dhabi or Saudi? That Whitaker Alaskarov card. Really solid card. Really nicely stacked up. UFC 294 comes to mind with Islam versus Volkanovski 2, Kamaru versus Khamzat, and then the subsequent. But that pay-per-view also did have Saeed versus Muin Ghafarov and Ikram versus Worley Alves. So, you know, sometimes the pay-per-views aren't insanely stacked over there, but the main events and co-main events usually are insane over there. And then you compare it to a recent pay-per-view that we got, like 318. 318 and 319 are pay-per-views that we're going to be talking about because they are the two upcoming pay-per-views subsequently following UFC 317, which some people are saying 317 isn't that good. I actually think 317 is really solid. I think the main card is probably one of the better main cards we've gotten in a little bit. Now, does it live up to International Fight Week standards? No, but we haven't had an International Fight Week that really lives up to like name value standards in, I believe, a while. I think 303 was kind of wishy-washy. You had Yuri versus Alex on there. You had Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega on there, but then we ended up with Dan Ige. Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Smith was on the main card of that pay-per-view. You even get a Mayra Bueno Silva Macy Chasson, and I forget the other fight that was on that. It was Ian Gary versus MVP, which ended up not being all that good. We haven't had an International Fight Week, in my opinion, in a while that was really, really solid. 290 was decent. That had Whitaker, Duplessis, Volk versus Yair. Co-main of Pantoja Moreno 3, or was it? It was 2, right? Because he fought him on the Ultimate Fighter, but yeah, and I forget the other two fights on the main card. I think Robbie Lawler retired that night. I think, what was the other fight on that main card? The other two I forget, but you know, really solid International Fight Week. But yeah, 317 is solid. 318 though is what I'm gonna delve into right now. Right now I got this cool little thing. It actually took me a while to fucking make this. Main card. This costs $80, by the way. You go from this main card, right? Whitaker de Ridder, Evloev Pico, even though not a lot of people know what Pico is, it's going to be a really fun fucking fight. Jan McGee, Mitchell Nurmagomedov. Bryce Mitchell versus Nurmagomedov is wild, by the way. Shar Magomedov on the main card, Nikita Krylov, Bogdan Guskov, and then you have these other fights. This is 10. There's going to be maybe 2 more fights added to this that might also be really solid. And yeah, you know what? Like, that's what we're getting for Abu Dhabi. That's what Abu Dhabi gets. This is what Dustin Poirier's send-off card is going to look like. Main event, Holloway Poirier 3. I think it's a polarizing fight for the MMA community because a lot of people... I am a firm believer that if a fight's going to be fun, I don't really care. Like, if it's going to be fun, I like it. You know what I mean? If it's fun, I'll take it. But I also do like fights where I care about the outcome. This is a fight that if Poirier wins, it's honestly a loss for the UFC. As sad as it is to say that, that is what it is at the end of the day. You have Holloway, who's moving up to 155 after getting knocked out by Ilia Topuria. If he loses to Dustin Poirier, not only do you have Max Holloway now even further from a title shot against Ilia, like a rematch like that, he might actually have to fight down, but you also don't even get the upside of Poirier staying around after beating a Holloway and getting back in the win column and fighting someone like, I don't know, maybe a Paddy Pimblett or an Ilia Topuria or a Charles Oliveira rematch. You don't get any of that. He just retires. So, I like the fight. I think it's going to be a really good watch. I think it's going to be super entertaining. But I would have rather seen Poirier fight a Gaethje. I would have rather seen him fight maybe an Ilia, maybe a Charles. One of those matchups. Holloway... Because it's one of those things where it's like, Holloway, the only reason why he's going to beat Poirier is he's improved, but also Poirier's old. You know what I mean? Like, he already beat Holloway in his prime twice. Now, albeit one of them was super short notice, and one of them was when Holloway was a tadpole in his debut. You know what I mean? When he was like 20 years old. But, like, it kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Like, that this is going to be Poirier's send-off fight, because I think a lot of people can also agree that I don't really think Poirier wins this. I think he's going to get finished in the later rounds. I think Holloway's pace and pressure and build up on damage and overall power increase over his career is going to kind of develop into Poirier. And Poirier on the feet, people talk about the Islam performance. He honestly didn't even really look that great on the feet against Islam. You could attribute that to the takedown threat. But even when he was defending takedowns, he was getting outboxed very clearly on the feet outside of, like, a couple exchanges, and, like, one where he was, like, ripping to the body a bunch and, you know, or shoe shining the body a little bit. But, you know, it's a cool main event. Co-main event is fucking Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. This is Poirier's send-off pay-per-view, by the way, in New Orleans. I get why Vettori and Allen are on the main card. I think everyone agreed that they should be on the main card. I think this was a really good fight to add to the card, because Brendan Allen, I believe, is from Louisiana. But his co-main event? Really? This is the co-main. And it's going to be the co-main because the other fight that they just added, which is Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov, just recently removed from 317 this week, which fucking blows, to this card. Costa and Kopylov aren't going above Vettori and Allen because they're not ranked higher. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense for them to be higher than Vettori and Allen. They're in the same division. I think I like Costa versus Kopylov more as a matchup. I think it's going to be more entertaining, but Vettori and Allen are going to be the co-main event of Dustin Poirier's retirement fucking pay-per-view. And they just added this. If they didn't add this, Costa Kopylov, this pay-per-view would be really, really, like, wishy-washy. Like, let me just get to the other two matchups really quick. I'll talk about these matchups. You know, Ige versus Pitbull is a main card matchup that they have. It's alright. I'm not a huge, like, it's okay. It's an okay matchup. And then Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. I love this fight. Is it a main card pay-per-view worthy fight? You know what I mean? Kyler Phillips versus Pedro Munoz was on the prelims of 299, and that was like number 11 versus number like 14 at bantamweight. That wasn't even like a featured prelim of 299. That was almost on the early prelims, right? Now he's fighting Vinicius Oliveira on the main card. I get Vinicius Oliveira is better than Pedro Munoz and more entertaining, but this costs $80. This right here costs $80 fucking dollars for this. Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Patricio's 39 years old. How many of these guys are coming off wins? Holloway's coming off a loss. Poirier's coming off a loss. Vettori and Allen are coming off losses. Costa's coming off a loss. Kopylov's coming off a win. Ige's coming off a win. Pitbull's coming off a loss. Phillips is coming off a loss. And Vinicius that's like 3 fighters on the main card coming off a win. What the fuck? Paulo Costa hasn't fought in fucking ages. He hasn't fought since 302, I believe. Be over a year since he stepped in the cage. Vettori he fought in March, but prior to that he didn't fight until like for fucking a year and a half. This is fucking, I'm pretty sure Brendan Allen's on like a 2-fight losing streak right now. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Kopylov's coming off a win. He's on like a win streak. Is it two in a row? This is the main card. Again, I will preface, $80 fucking dollars. $80 for this. And these are also the prelims. And this is when I go back to this. Let me go back to this. 318 is fun. It's not worth $80. You look at this main card. There are some fun fights. Phillips, Oliveira, very fun. Costa Kopylov, very fun. Vettori Allen, the build-up's going to be cool. The fight is probably going to be decent just because, you know, you got Vettori who's a barger who can take a punch, and Allen's, you know, a grappler. Holloway Poirier is going to be wild, of course. Any matchup with Poirier and Holloway, and it's going to be very fun. Ige Pitbull is just 2 blockheads throwing it down. It's $80. The prelims, you got some very fun fights on here. Ikram Aliskerov, Bruno Fajea comes to mind as a fun matchup. Gaultier Valentin is a fun matchup. Adam Fuggett versus Islam Dulatov is a fun matchup. Like the whole left side of the prelims here are fun match. Even Michael Johnson, Daniel Zellhuber is kind of cool. And then you just got like Neil Magny, Gunnar Nelson, Jimmy Crew versus Marcin Pragniał, Nikolay Varetenikov versus Prado. I have no idea how Nikolay Varetenikov is still even signed to the UFC after the bullshit he pulled at Seattle. And then Carly Judice versus Nicole Cagliari. I think the only upside to this is that there's only one WMMA fight on this card. This is it. I know what you're looking at, like, is this really it? Those are 8 prelims. This is a 13-fight card. This is it. And you got to think, if they didn't have Costa Kopylov on this main card, they might have had Alistair Fahea or Magny Nelson on the main card of a pay-per-view. Like, that could have been the real world. This is the final, and it's $80 for these 5 fights. These prelims, fun fights, fun matchups, and most of them, you got some throwaway fights like Magny and Nelson and Crew Pragniał, and the whole right side essentially is a throwaway. Left side's pretty solid. It's just like, this is Poirier's send-off pay-per-view. Like I said, it's fun. Are those 5 fights worth $80 fucking dollars? Where's a good co-main event at? Where's a 5-round co-main event at on here? Dude, you could remove 2 of these fights, put them on fight nights, and give us 2 way better fights, and this would be a really solid pay-per-view. Give us a 5-round co-main event of, like, Adesanya Strickland. You know what I mean? Give us something like co-main event of Imavov versus Bohalyo. You know what I mean? Remove something else and put that on. Maybe not 2 middleweight matches, because we already have maybe for 319, though, what I'm going to show you in a second, because fucking Jesus Christ. A 5-round co-main event of fucking Arman Sarukian. You could put Arman on here. He hasn't fought. Where is Arman Sarukian at? Where is he at? Like, where did he go? Put John Silva on here. He didn't take any damage at 314. Get him on here. Take off fucking, what's a fight? Magny Nelson. Take that off and put that on some fucking Apex event as a featured fight. I don't give a fuck. Give us like John Silva versus fucking Diego Lopez. It's like a 5-round co-main event. That would be badass. That'd be a sick addition. You could also figure out something. What are bantamweights up to? What bantamweights? Marcus McGee versus Piotr Jan would have been perfect for this card. It's literally the week after. Why did it have to be on the Abu Dhabi card? The Abu Dhabi card's already fucking stacked. You could have put that on here. Imagine Holloway Poirier 3. John Silva, Diego Lopez. Fucking Marcus McGee versus Piotr Jan, Vettori Allen, Costa Kopylov, featured prelim of Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. That is a banger fucking pay-per-view. That is sick. But no. We have this. This is $80. Again, I'll preface it. 80 fucking bucks. 319's looking even spookier. I'm praying, because there's technically only 10 matchups, and most pay-per-views have 12 to 13 fights. It's usually the makeup of the cards is 12 to 13 fights. There's 10 already on 319. And I'm fucking spooked out, fellas. Because the main and featured fight right now, I love Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis as a main event. The featured fight, according to Dana White, or who I forget who broke this, but this is the featured fight. They're looking for a co-main event. I imagine it's going to be Sean versus Israel 2. I think that's the matchup they're trying to make. Is Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. I have no idea if I like this fight or not. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea if it makes even a lick of sense. I thought technically Roman Dolidze and Anthony Hernandez are fighting, which does make a lot of sense, but I thought Cannonier was going to get an actual middleweight. He's getting a welterweight again. Not a welterweight again, but Michael Venom Page is staying at middleweight, I guess. He's fighting Jared Cannonier. This fight could either end in a crazy cool finish, or it'll be the most boring fight of all fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, it could just turn into a Cannonier can't get to him. Michael Venom Page is too out of range. He's just tagging him whenever he blitzes in. That's it. I have no idea. And then the prelims. Not even prelims. One of these, maybe 2 of these fights are going to be on the main card. Bobby Green versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. Decent matchup. Fun matchup. Two old heads going out at it. Bobby Green, he probably gets chinned brutally by Carlos, I'm going to be honest with you. Jakar Close versus Edson Barboza, or backwards, Barboza versus Close. Decent matchup, fun fight, striker's delight. Maybe Jakar Close looks for some takedowns. I think Edson would be able to defend them, though. Karine Silva versus JJ Aldrich. This is probably going to be on the pay-per-view because it's ranked WMMA. Either that or Tim Elliott versus Kaya Sakura. I completely forgot that this fight. I was already skipping to fucking Jessica Andrade, Lupita Godinez. Out of these 5 fights, I guarantee you 2 of these are going to be on the pay-per-view. I guarantee it. I guarantee you that 2 of these fights will be on the pay-per-view. Out of these 5 fights, 2 of them will be on the pay-per-view. I'm guaranteeing that it's Tim Elliott, Kaya Sakura, because they want Kaya Sakura to be a star, because they want to go to Japan, and Kaya Sakura has that huge following. Because like even though Tatsuro Taira exists, Tatsuro Taira is a guy that you can consistently put in main events in the Apex and kind of be like, it's a top 5 flyweight matchup. We can get away with throwing it in the Apex. Even though him and Amir Albazi is a great fight. I love that fight. I think it's a good main event. For an Apex event, at least. You know what I mean? Like, it's an Apex card. Makes sense. And then Andrade Lupita Godinez might just get put on the main card because it's Jessica Andrade. Possibly. Then you got 3 other fights. You know, Alexander Hernandez, Chase Hooper. Fun fight. I would have liked a bit more of a step up for Chase Hooper. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he beats Alexander Hernandez. But it's a fun matchup. Maybe Alexander Hernandez has the power to upset Chase Hooper. McCall Oleksiejczuk, Gerald Mearshart, you know. Again, older Gerald kind of coming out swinging. Coming off a loss. I believe Gerald is coming off the Brad Tavares fight, which was on one of those Apex cards. I think it was Murphy versus fucking Emmett. Fun fight, I guess. Brian Battle, Nursultan Ruziboev. Brian Battle's back at middleweight because the UFC forced him to. So Brian Battle might not ever fight for a title because I don't think he'll do anything at middleweight. I'm going to be honest with you. Fun fight, but these are 10 fights for UFC 319. 319, Dreykus Khamzat. Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. I don't even know if I like that fight. I think it can be fun. It's like 2 big names. And then this. These are the other 8 fights already announced. 8 fights. 2 of these are going to be on that main card. Because I guarantee you one of the fights they add to this is just going to be some shitty prelim fight that they just throw in here. Either a shitty prelim fight or a really entertaining unranked fight. Here's my big issue. Sorry, fellas, pay-per-views might be cooked. I added this as like a closing slide. Do I exit out of this and kind of just show you some other fights? You know what? Fuck it. I don't care. Let me show you guys something. Let me show you UFC Vegas 108. Albazi Taira. This is in the warehouse, by the way. In the Apex. This is in the warehouse. Amir Albazi, Tatsuro Taira, good main event. You look at those prelims that they had for UFC 319, and you're telling me they couldn't have put Azat Bekoev versus Terez Finney on there? Great fight. You're telling me they couldn't put Kevin Vallejos, Danny Silva on there? Great fight. In the warehouse with 20 people in attendance max. This is a great fight, not in front of a crowd. Francis Marshall, Austin Bashi, decent fight. I think it's fun. Chris Duncan, Mateusz Rembetsky. Mateusz Rembetsky is coming off a fight of the year fucking contender with Maktabek Orobai, and he's in the fucking Apex. With Chris Duncan, another fun fucking lightweight. In the Apex. Andre Lima, Felipe Bunes. Andre Lima is one of the most entertaining prospects at flyweight right now. Warehouse. You're in the warehouse against Felipe Bunes, dude. They have this shit on fucking Apex cards when fucking, you know, UFC 319. We're getting this. This is what we're getting. 2 of these fights are going to be on the main card, dude. You know what fight should be in the Apex? You know what fight should be in the Karine Silva, JJ Aldrich? that should be in the Apex. That would actually make that fight way more entertaining because it's close quarters. Karine Silva can do a lot more in close quarters. Andrade Lupita Godinez, unironically, should be in the Apex. I like Lupita Godinez. I think she's cool. I think she's one of my favorite fighters in WMMA right now. Her and Jessica Andrade might be on a pay-per-view, and it's scaring the shit out of me. I'm not a huge fan of it. And again, let me preface something. Let me go all the way back to UFC 318. $80. Along with paying for ESPN Plus or BET, whatever you watch UFC on. $80 fucking dollars. Unless you illegally stream it. Right? Which it seems more, some people may seem more inclined to do something like that. I would never do that because, that's bad. It's bad to do whatever I just said. I don't even know what I just said. $80. $80 fucking dollars. 80 smackaroos, dude. But Abu Dhabi gets this. This is one of the most stacked fight nights I've ever seen in my life. Those top 3 fights would make a pay-per-view fucking insane, by the way. You could have added Robert Whittaker, Renee DeRitter to this before you added Costa Kopylov as another middleweight fight. You could add Piotr Marcus McGee to this card as another bantamweight fight. Maybe to build up even Phillips and Oliveira because they're also bantamweights. Oliveira's a streaking contender. You could maybe make that matchup kind of in a way to be like, oh, let's see if Marcus McGee can break into the top 5. Let's see what these other lower ranked bantamweights are able to do. No. Because Abu Dhabi needs something like this. They need one of the most stacked fight nights all the time. Whenever they want. Whenever they want a stacked fight night, they're going to get a stacked fight night. They will get it. Because don't forget, Abu Dhabi and Qatar, because we were supposed to go to Qatar. The UFC was supposed to go on that Gilbert Burns, Michael Morales card, and they legit just said no. Because they thought that the card wasn't good enough. Which, technically speaking, I want to see if what was that Vegas 107 card? How bad was that? I don't really remember or 106 rather. You had Tisha Pennington, yeah, looking at this fight night, and this fight didn't even fucking happen. Looking at this compared to fucking this, I can see why they turned it down. Because why settle for this, right? Cool main event, but the prelims just not, the undercard not selling as much. There were some fun finishes on here, by the way. Very early finish, very brutal finish. Did Luana, she key locked Tainara. Cool finish, cool knockout, decent sub, dog fight, decent fight, early ass finish, anticlimactic as hell. You get some very fun fights on here. We had to deal with them in the Apex because you know what Abu Dhabi said, you know what they said, you know what the oil money said. They said no. Because we want shit like this every time, and you're gonna give it to us. And guess what the UFC does? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're gonna give you the best pay. We're gonna give you the best fight nights in the world. And I guarantee you, Abu Dhabi's gonna be fucking stacked too. I guarantee you, Abu Dhabi's getting fucking JDM Islam. They're getting Volkanovski versus somebody, or Volkanovski's gonna headline 320 because there's no pay-per-view in September for some reason. So the comeback pay-per-view is probably not even going to be that good for some reason, even though they're like, we had a month off from no pay-per-view, so not a lot of ranked fighters are fighting, but we're not going to give you shit. 321 is going to be nuts, because 321 I'm assuming is going to be the Abu Dhabi card, because it's in October. Because they already have the early October pay-per-view set, which is usually what happens. It's June that gets doubled up, and then it's, October that gets doubled up. UFC 321, lock it in, is going to be the best pay-per-view of the fucking year. $80 fucking dollars. Sorry to be all doom and gloom on you, but pay-per-views are not looking as good as I'd like them to be. To spend $80 on them. Like I said, 318, fun. Some fun fights on there. To spend $80 on it is fucking insane. What are your guys' thoughts on this? What are your guys' thoughts on the current state of pay-per-views and their structure in the current climate of the UFC? Because I'm worried, man. I'm fucking worried. This is looking weird. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you guys want to see me next. I had to make this video. Tomorrow is UFC Baku. I already posted my picks and breakdown. Go check that out. It's going to be on the screen somewhere. But yeah, I will see you guys after the fights with my Baku recap. Peace.